Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. This afternoon, I have TeAsias with me, and again, I will say her name again, TeAsias, so you guys understand it's the Unique Name Club this afternoon. So without further ado, I'm going to let TeAsias take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is, like she said, TeAsias. It's pronounced like T, then the continent Asia. And I am the creative and owner of Completely Yours Ministries. And it is a small business designed to empower today's woman to live through her faith.
Wow, TeAsias, you have got your story down pat. So why did you start this company?
So it's so funny, like when I took a second to really kind of reevaluate my life and where I was going, some things weren't adding up and they weren't making sense to me. I've been a woman of faith my entire life, and I don't know if there's anybody else out here that grew up in the church but then kind of went to college and did their own thing or just kind of deviated away from the path. That was me. And I was happy about it. Like, I wasn't looking back, but there was a unique tug that was pulling on me to say, like, hey, girls, that's not where you're supposed to be, and that's not what you're meant to do. So when I turned 25 last year, I went through a whole mental breakdown, kind of like, who am I? What is life? What is making sense? I had just started my first year of grad school at Grand Valley State University, and I was still feeling that area of incompleteness. So I decided to turn my face back to God, and I started praying, and it wasn't really sparked from a guy or some bad breakup. It was just me needing to feel a sense of completeness and a sense of confidence and wholeness in myself. And from that prayer came this epiphany, like, my dear, I made you whole and complete at the beginning when I created the heavens and the earth. So as soon as like that clicked in my mind, well, I was happy, to say the least. And that's when I said, well, then I will always be completely yours. Whatever you've asked of me, whatever you've purposed for me, it will always be to go back to your glory. So as I look to a lot of women that identify as Christian, or some people that don't even identify in their faith, we have this unspoken insecurity that we don't know that all of the gifts, all of the things that we are designed to be was already within us from day one. And that's what my company and that's what I personally aim to do when I interact with people.
Well, man, you, as I said, have your story down pat. And so, were you in corporate America before all this? Or were you, did you just start this company right out of college?
Yeah, so I graduated from my undergrad degree back in 2014, and I earned a bachelor's of music, believe it or not, and I did a minor in African American studies. And about midway through my college career, I decided that I didn't want to go into music and become a performer. I can't remember who's behind the music I was watching, but I realized, like, I didn't want to stay up all those nights. I didn't want to do those long hours on the road. So American Idol, all that kind of stuff, like, I decided I didn't want to do. But I knew I loved music, and I decided that I would just keep doing my music with church. So I sing in a small recording group out of Muskegon, Michigan called Brandon Davis and Victory and Praise. So that's how I fulfilled my music desire. But along the way, I started teaching in education. And I saw that this broken and this incomplete mindset kind of starts as a child, like dealing with being bullied or having parents that are super busy with life and they don't necessarily always have the time to verbally affirm you or pour into you. So that's really where I got started at, was in education and working with young women, doing after school kind of programs. And this is the path that is kind of taken itself. So then I started grad school to get my master's in education, and here we are.
Oh boy. Well, I don't know if you know my story, TeAsias, but I retired from preschool. teaching preschool. After 11 years of it, I got so sick that my body gave up. My body gave up. So I understand where you're coming from when you see parents not nurturing their kids, especially in preschool. And I'm slowly but surely phasing out of the education field. I will be in the education field for 3 more years. Then I'm going to be a full-on freelance journalist / writer. And so
Yes.
to those out there listening, and this is coming from a teacher's perspective, what would you say to them when they say, I'm too busy being a solo entrepreneur to nurture my kids? I can't get off the phone at 5 o'clock to nurture my kids because our education system is breaking down because the parents are not showing up to these in-school events, and then after school, angels like you and me have to pick up the pieces.
Right. I would offer this question, and hopefully they could ponder this in all humility. Are you okay with your child not growing up with you? Because inevitably, that's what's happening, because your child, aka our student, spends 8 to 10 hours a day with us. Are you okay with the television and society and everybody else's thoughts teaching your child how to be the best human being they can be? That's a lot of power to give away when the world is extremely corrupt, and our teachers and I'll say that too, from our paraprofessionals all the way up to the upper management at superintendentship and in higher education, a lot of us are burnt out. So are you okay with burnt out people who have no bloodline connection to your child pouring in that much when it might take you an additional 10 minutes, 15 minutes to look your child in the eye and say, you did really good work today. Tell me about your day. The way the internet works, the way the internet works now, like there's countless of people that your child is connecting to. I have to monitor my niece and nephew all the time about the things that they see on Snapchat, what they think is appropriate for his dress. Are you okay with your child wearing a crop top to an interview because you didn't take the time to teach them that a button-up or a pullover shirt with their arms not being out, for example, is okay? I'm not saying it's wrong, but are you okay with allowing someone else that responsibility to teach them? Or when your child decides to call you out of your name because they don't know you as mom, or they don't know you as dad, or guardianship, they don't know you in that role, they just know you as a person. Are you okay with them talking to you as if you're a person on the street? Hopefully they would say no and say, okay, let's reevaluate this.
We invest so much time in these kids, so much time in these kids that we need your help. And I'm preaching to the choir, all teachers need your help. All
absolutely
need your help. Disabled or not, after school or in school, all teachers need your help, especially in these inner city schools. I mean, I'm very blessed and very lucky that I work at a private school, and most of my parents pick up their kids from the school. Some of them have nannies, but I remember, and I'm going to share this story publicly, I remember 2 years ago, we were having our little end of the school year performance. Now, we get out in May, and so all the parents come, and this was for a class of pre-K 4, which is pre-K for kindergarten. And one of the parents, my colleague goes, I want to thank Lynn. She's been a real asset. She keeps me on task. And one of the parents goes, yay, Win, yay for the teacher's aid, out publicly. I knew this parent was going to do it. And all the rest of the parents look at her, look at the parent like she's crazy. And I'm sitting there like, you don't know what I do because you don't come into your child's classroom. You may come into the main classroom, but you don't know what I do.
Right.
For your kids. And so, and so
it's horrible.
Drives me crazy.
If I can share a quick,
drives me crazy.
If I can share a quick story, this is what made me want to stay in the education field for a little longer and why I decided to open up my small business. I had a preschool. He was a 4-year-old. He was being extremely disruptive at nap time, like knocking toys over. He was also like trying to wake up other kids at rest time because we can't call it nap time. I stand corrected. But finally one day we were trying to call mom. Mom had quite a few different numbers and she was not accessible to be reached. Finally, one day he was laying on his cot and I was massaging his back to help him like self-soothe and go to sleep. And he says, Miss T, can I tell you a story? And I was like, sure. And he was like, but you got to promise not to tell. And I said, well, you know, as long as you are safe and I don't think anything is bad with it, sure, I won't tell anyone. But, you know, Miss T has to tell if it's not safe. So he goes on to tell me, and this is how he put it, and I remember it so vividly because it was a Head Start program classroom that I was in, so I took notes. He says he was super hungry when he went to bed, and when he was trying to go to sleep, there was a whole bunch of lights, and then the doors burst open all over the house, and the police had came over, and they were looking for something, and he was like, I don't know if they found it, but while all the doors was open, I snuck out of the house while no one was looking, and I went to the candy store that was just down the street, and I snuck and I crawled real close to the ground to see, like we did at playtime. I bear crawled it on the floor, and I sold 2 ring pops, and I snuck back out of the candy store door, and I ran home really, really fast, and I got back in my bed, and nobody saw me. So after he told me that story, I was like, you did? Nobody saw you? And he was like, nope. And look, so he pulls out the last little few licks of his second lollipop because he said he was saving it for that day after school. So we finally, after he told me that, I got my supervisor and my lead teacher because at that time I was an assistant teacher. Yeah. Told them what was going on. Yeah. We finally found a number. Mom comes storming in while we're trying to get a hold of her because remember we can't get a hold of her. She's frantically like crying and she was like, I need to pick my son up. And we were like, what do you mean? What's going on? We knew what he had just told us, but she tells us that she had started working a 3rd job. She was working nights and she had left her son with her sister to babysit, and she tells us that there was a drug raid at her sister's house last night while her kids was there, so she was frantic. And she also unveils that her mother was currently dying from cancer and had no health insurance, and why this young lady had picked up a 3rd job. So this was in urban Grand Rapids. Exactly. Like, what are the odds of a mother having to deal with so many things? But this 4-year-old, we found out, did not want to go to sleep because every time he would sleep, he would not see his mom. And that was making him sad. So he didn't want to take a nap anymore, which all makes sense. But when you think of a child that young, that's why I asked the parents to consider, are you okay with not being that involved? Because that residual damage on a 4-year-old will last him the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah. Oh boy. That's, yeah. Okay, that's why I'm staying in the education field, 3 more years, and then I am fully, this being my first of 3 years, then I'm exiting, because stories like that go across the country. And I have spoken to so many teachers over the years, and I have spoken to so many solo entrepreneurs over the years that people say, you're a saint for teaching, you're a saint for teaching. No, I'm not. I'm a saint for investing in your kids when you don't want to invest in your kids.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. They're an investment, and I am proud to say that I haven't started my own investments yet because I value the investment because you are producing another member of society, and that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And considering we don't get paid that much, that's a lot
Which
of
is so
pressure.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone, I'm going to another story while we're talking, and then I'll get back to the baseline questions. But someone shared, someone literally said to me 2 weeks ago, are they paying you less because of your disability? And I looked at this person and said, no, they are not. They are paying me, rude beyond belief, but I'm like, you know that teachers don't make enough. So are they paying you less because of your disability? No, they are not. They're paying me what I deserve. But, and teachers don't make enough money.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. So, TeAsias, what is your favorite book? And it doesn't have to be a business book. It just has to be a book that you go back to time and then again.
So this is actually so funny because I started reading this book today for the 4th time, and I had just posted on Instagram how I appreciate rereading a book being in a different mindset and space. This book is called Lady in Waiting. The tagline says, becoming God's best while waiting for Mr. Right. And it's by Jackie Kendall, and it's a very, very simple read, and it talks about how to be your best self while you are a single woman. And it really speaks to you as a single, whether or not you're looking for marriage or you're a widow or a divorcee, but it just reaffirms who you are in God's word. So good.
Well, single... Give me that title again. Lady in Waiting.
It's called, Lady in Waiting by Jackie Kendall.
Lady in Waiting by Jackie Kendall. And I presume that book could be found on Amazon.
Absolutely. I had a very good day date with myself about 2 years ago, and I picked it up from Barnes & Noble, but you can find almost everything on Amazon. So I chose to get a paperback copy so I could fold it, but I think it also comes back too.
Yeah, and also comes on Kindle. I know it is. So, what is your favorite piece of technology that you use on a daily basis? And yes, iPhones and iPhone apps count. Yes, Android counts, and everything else counts.
Oh, yeah. So my top ones that I've been using extremely frequently is Google Docs, because they have an app for that, so I can keep all my thoughts in a live document so I can pull it up on my laptop or on my phone or on my tablet. And I really like using Canva for my, what is that called, my images for my business. And then they have an app for that too. So as I create them on my laptop, they automatically update in my app, so I don't have to download it, email it to myself, and then post it. No, it's just right there, and then I can just immediately upload it to my social media from my phone.
Yep. So Google Docs and Canva. That's good.
Yeah. Yep. Every day almost.
Google Docs and Canva. I think I'm in Google Docs every single day myself. And unfortunately, I will be into Google Docs more. And unfortunately, a lot of schools use the Google system.
Yeah. Google is really,
So
really good.
Google is powerful. Google is
Yeah.
powerful. I mean, I Google stuff via my phone all the time. Yesterday I was doing a project and I had to Google via my phone. What's this? What's this? What's this? And it came up with the answers. But I'm like, how much time am I going to be spending on Google? Jeez.
Yeah. The worst thing to do is like be sick and then get out Google. Like you can type in your symptoms and whatnot, and Google will tell you what you have or like tell you the worst thing possible that you could have.
Oh, geez.
That's when I'm like, okay,
don't do
let
that.
me not use Google for that. Exactly.
Don't do that. So, if you had to be educated by anyone, who would it be and why?
Gosh, if I had to be educated,
by anyone inside or outside your field, who would it be and why and what would you ask them?
Gosh, I would, and I hate to sound so cliche, but I'm torn between two people. I would want to meet Oprah or either our former First Lady, Michelle Obama.
I knew you were going to say those two.
I know, isn't that so classic? But they have a public persona that is so well kept and put together that I would want to know what is the difference between their public self and their private self and how much of themselves do they bring to the table when they are doing their jobs. And what does it look like when they're not doing their jobs? Because I think that's a space where a lot of us mentally struggle. Like, how do I bring the best self to my work? But how do I turn that off when I'm done working?
Yep.
So that's what I would want to talk to them about.
So where can people find you and how can people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So I have a live blog called Beyond the Mirror. You can follow the blog. It's believingbtm.com. Feel free to drop your email so you can constantly get all the updates and be caught up on the latest empowerment articles that I'm posting on there. And then you can always follow me on social media. I am on Instagram and at Twitter on _IamComplete. And our Facebook page is Completely Yours Ministries with no spaces.
And before I let TeAsias go, I'm going to let her ask me a couple questions about anything that she wants to ask me about.
Yeah, so can you tell me what helped you go for it?
Oh, what helped me go for it? It's so funny you asked that question because tomorrow is the 7-year anniversary of me losing my mom, and we are recording this on August 11th. Tomorrow's August 12th. And so what helped me go for it is the philosophies that I was brought up with. One of them was my faith in God, and two, I was brought up as if I had no disability whatsoever. I was mainstreamed in all my classes. I'll be mainstreamed again once I go back to journalism school. And so I thought I had no disability until I was 6 years old. I discovered that I had a disability called CP. Wasn't until I was in 7th grade that my mom actually sat me down. She actually did it in the parking lot of the school where I work now, where I was lucky enough to go as a student. And she goes, when you have a physical disability, it's called cerebral palsy, and now have a nice day. And I'm like, thank you very much, Mom. And so that's how she did that. And I almost killed her because of that. But, besides the point. And so, and then I did a little more research on my own disability because I didn't know the main term for cerebral palsy like I do now. I did that research when I was in high school, Googled what is CP, and I almost shut the laptop and cried because I'm like, oh boy, we're dealing with a big brain monster that now I can't control, and I'm part of that big brain monster.
Wow.
So, yep. But what drives me forward to do everything I'm doing is the philosophies, how I grew up. I grew up, as I said, with no disability whatsoever, so that's what drives me forward, and that's what will continue to drive me forward.
That's so powerful. I think that plays into why I believe that if everyone understood that all of their gifts and talents was already inside of them and it was just up to us to unlock it and do what we are all purposed to do, like everyone would be just so much better and so much happier. Yeah. So I'm very honored that you invited me to be on your podcast today. I could catch that vibe from your tweets and things like that I saw on your page. So.
Well, thank you for saying that. And do you have any other questions for me, or is that it?
No, that's it.
No, you just want to know what drives people forward. And I want to thank TeAsias for coming on and sharing a little bit about the educational journey. By the time this comes out, it will be Monday. So yes, 7 years into losing my mom, we're going into it strong. And what drives me forward and what drives my journalism career forward is the philosophies that I grew up with. So that's great. And if you want to read more into my story could be found on Amazon. I Come a Win, or The Mosaic of CP, which is my latest book. The Mosaic of CP is out on Kindle, it's out in paperback, and it's out on most ebooks except Apple ebooks, but the Kindles do have apps now, so there's an app for Kindle. So if you guys want to go support me that way, you're more than welcome to it, or just share this podcast with a friend to grow our community. And again, I thank TeAsias for coming on and sharing her story, and this podcast will be coming out on Monday, as I said, but then we're switching to Wednesdays and Thursdays, and it will, because my life is getting chaotic again and I can't produce a 3-day-a-week podcast. So I've got to give up something for me. And so TeAsias is laughing at me because she knows it's the truth. And so we are switching to Wednesdays and Thursdays, but I hope you guys will still enjoy the ride, and I enjoy you guys, and I enjoy as much as communicating with you guys as I do on social media. So please support me and my books and my teaching journeys for the next 3 years, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And this podcast has been sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is a clothing line out of California, and they're giving you 20% off when you type in the code Expo Butterflies. So just go to Grace by Grit. All that information will be in the show notes, and so will TeAsias information. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. Thanks to you guys.
Bye. All right. Are we all good? Uh-oh. Hello?